Hey, what's up guys, Brad here. So towards the tail end of 2018 I put up a video called 10 classic cards we thought would be in Duel Links, something along those lines, and a few of those cards actually made it to the game already. Obelisk the Tormentor, Dragon Master Knight, and Mystical Elf, they've all been available in Duel Links either via event rewards or the card trader, so it's really cool to see they've all been available as free to play cards. So today I thought, why not revisit that topic and go through 8 or so more cards that we as a community thought would be in Duel Links by the 5Ds era. So yes, we are including some cards that came about in the GX era in the TCG. So this list is based off both my personal picks as well as some suggestions from you guys thanks to a community post I put up well over a month ago, so it's about time I got around to this topic. Additionally, it needs to be said that these cards are A, in no particular order, and B, are cards that we thought would come to Duel Links, not necessarily ones that should or ever will come to the game. A few of these cards would be completely broken in Duel Links, so just a heads up there, but still, let me know what card or cards you expect to see in Duel Links by this time. Oh, and one more thing, for some reason a lot of you guys didn't know that Summon Skull was actually already available in the game. You can get it in Wonders of the Sky as a super rare card, so if you need it for Red Eyes for example, you can get it there. Speaking of Red Eyes, we should be getting this campaign starting in a few hours from this video going live, so look forward to a Dream Ticket, some gems, and a Prismatic Red Eyes. That's pretty cool. Now onto the video. First up, we have Trap Hole, and honestly I think the time for this card to see widespread play has long since gone. Trap Hole says when your opponent normal flip summons a monster with 1000 more attack points, destroy it. Currently in Duel Links we're in such a special summon heavy meta that the only deck I can really see this being used against is Quackimeru, but even then they have protection cards like Diamond Core and could do their special summon first into Maximus, so that would kind of render this card entirely useless. 6 Samurais would only be affected if your opponent decided to say summon Inishi or Kizan first, and then use Dojo to get Fumara on board and then go into 6 Samurai Shien. If they went with any other method of doing so, whether that be summoning Fuma first and special summoning Legendary Secret, or summoning Kageki and then using its effect to get out a monster, or summoning Legendary Secret and then using Dojo to get Fuma, those would all render Trap Hole completely useless as well, and then as soon as that Shien's live on board, that Trap Hole is dead anyway, so against that deck it really doesn't do much at all. The same thing goes for Blue Eyes and Neos, both of those decks, and pretty much most of the top tier decks in the meta have ways of special summoning from the hand or deck without using the normal summon of your turn first, or, not using it at all. Like Blue Eyes can special summon Dragon Spirit, pop that back row, and then your Trap Hole is gone. Neos of course have protection in Neos Fusion. So if anything we would need something like Bottomless Trap Hole to make any form of impact in the metagame, and I think that's the one people are really holding out for in terms of the Trap Hole cards that we really do need. Next up is Cyber Dragon. Now you kind of have to include it on a list because it feels like one of the most obvious cards that should have come with the GX world but didn't, and I really hope the Black Rose Dragon from 5Ds doesn't follow the same fate as Cyber Dragon has. If for some reason you really aren't familiar with the card, Cyber Dragon is a level 5 light machine with 2100 attack and is able to special summon itself from your hand if your opponent controls a monster and you do not. Now we do already have cards similar to it in the game, things like Vice Dragon, which is a box UR, and Big Piece Golem, which is a SR from Jack Alice's Unlock event, but they don't really come anywhere close to the versatility that Cyber Dragon has, especially with a lot of the on-archetype Cyber Dragon support that we also haven't seen in Duel Links thus far. My thoughts on this is that at some point Konami is saving Cyber Dragon to be included when the Zexal World drops in either a Structure Deck EX, or a main box that gives us the Cyber Dragon Nova card, and God forbid if they actually went as far as Infinity, but I highly doubt that. Cyber Dragon has seen a ton of support in the Xyz era, and so it would be a key pillar of actually keeping players who don't really like Xyz summoning interested in playing the game if they had such an iconic boss monster and deck strategy available to them at that point that they could use other than just using the straight Xyz monsters. Honestly, you could put any generic level 6 vanilla monster with somewhat reasonable stats in here, but Amphibian Beast was a card I used to run back in the day in my water deck around the time the original Fury from the Deep Structure deck came out. It's a level 6 fish type, 2400 attack and 2000 defense, so it's not really that bad of a card, and definitely wouldn't have been for early on in Duel Links' life, but seriously, Konami, we're missing so many generic vanilla monsters like Shape Snatch, another community favourite, that's another one we're missing in the game. I know we all kind of complain about getting them when we get them in events or boxes, but still, it's surprising they aren't in Duel Links by now, and Konami does like to keep us somewhat surprised, and somewhat slightly confused to their choices in this game, so maybe we'll see them at some point, maybe we'll go on forever and not see these cards at all. Next up is Waboku. You take no battle damage from your opponent's monsters this turn, your monsters cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. This card is one of the most classic defensive cards the game has ever had, being available I believe in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! And Kuiper Star decks. It's essentially a buffed up version of Intrigue Shield, but instead of just protecting one monsters, it's all of them, and it's a buffed up version of Hallowed Life Barrier, but only in Duel Links and in the OCG. This is because Duel Links uses OCG rulings, and in the OCG, Hallowed Life Barrier actually stops monsters from being destroyed by battle, rather than just making damage 0, which it doesn't say on the card whatsoever, so I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't know that. So, due to Waboku being stronger because of the lack of a discard cost, it will be incredibly useful in stall decks, and as such should never really come to the game. We really don't need those strategies getting more cancerous than they already can be. Moving on to Marauding Captain, your opponent cannot target warrior monsters for attacks except this one. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one level 4 lower monster from your hand, 200 attack, 400 defense, level 3 warrior earth. Again, another one of those cards that you'd think would have arrived at some point over the past few years but hasn't. The fact it's a warrior makes it another very easy target for both Neos Fusion and the upcoming Red Eyes Fusion based decks with a Slash Dragon, and aside from his special summoning effect making it incredibly easy to get out, say, a tuner from the hand to set for synchro summoning, or another level 3 for rank 3 Exceeds place in the future, it also has the freedom to get out any level 4 monster and not be locked into, say, an archetype or a type, which makes it crazy good. But it also suffers the same fate as Dino Hero for Hire did, thus the Dino Lock, whereby if you get 2 out at the same time, your opponent can't really do anything till they remove one of them from the field, and so plenty of other classic cards like Marshmallow, Spirit Reaper, or my personal favourite Soul Absorbing Bone Tower, they also fall under this category, and as much as I love to mill my opponent to death with Bone Tower, all of them are just a breed of cards that if they do come to Duel Links, should be artificially limited to one copy of in some way, either as say a limited event reward, or a level up reward, just so that you could not have that Dino Lock be prevalent on a much easier to summon monster. This next one I'm going to cheat just a little bit and include an entire archetype from the GX era that consists of 2 cards, and that's Aster Phoenix's own versions of the elemental heroes that he used in like 2 duels as part of his introduction to the show. These were the alternate forms of Flame Wingman and Shining Flare Wingman, being instead Elemental Hero Phoenix Enforcer and Elemental Hero Shining Phoenix Enforcer. They both share the exact same stat line and monster requirements as Jaden's versions, but differ in that instead of dealing the opponent damage equal to the destroyed monster's attack, they can't be destroyed by battle. Maybe that one line is the reason we haven't seen them in Duel Links just yet, and we are now starting to see more methods of monster removal outside of battle destruction in the game, so maybe time for their arrival could be right around the corner. Shining Phoenix Enforcer does still retain the 300 attack boost for every element here in the graveyard though, so it's not entirely losing out on all of the original's effect. These two are cards I thought would have appeared in the GX Duelist Chronicles 2 event we just had, or alongside Aster when he first made his way into Duel Links in late 2017, but alas, we haven't seen them just yet. Finally, we have 2 trap cards which both saw high levels of play in the TCG competitively, and if they made their way into Duel Links then they would both see high levels of play there too. Those cards are Compulsory Evacuation Device and Threatening Roar. Compulsory Evacuation Device lets you target one monster on the field and return that target to the hand. Now, people already hate 6 Samurai Nishi being able to bounce any monster to the hand, and that requires you to not only banish 2 6 Samurais from the grave, but have another with a different name already on the field, so I think people would actually despise that same effect, but being splashable into any deck strategy and having absolutely 0 cost to it. Though, since it does target, at least that means the hazy decks can live on unaffected by this. Threatening Roar on the other hand makes it so that your opponent cannot declare an attack this turn, which is just straight up saying nope to your opponent in general, and it keeps you alive for an extra turn at least, though again it could assist stall decks quite favourably at 3 copies of the card. But it would be played in almost every single deck due to how good it is, so I guess that kind of balances things out in that regard. Honestly, I could see Threatening Roar being incorporated as say a skill from a random niche duelist at some point down the line, but Konami have done stupider things with the game so far, so I would not be surprised to see Threatening come at some point in the near future. And that's the list. A lot of trap cards I know, but honestly a lot of the monsters I was looking at came from Season 4 to 5 of Duel Monsters and would not make much sense outside of their own standalone events, which might be an interesting topic to discuss in a video by itself. Again, let me know what classic cards you thought would be available to use in Duel Links by now. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, we're pretty much in the end game for hitting 20k subs, so that's pretty cool, and become a channel member if you want to help support the content that I make. Thanks for watching, I'll see you all next Duel Links video, see you then.
Okay, that's all the time I've got. I gotta get back to playing
Legacy of the Duelist on my Nintendo Switch.